Welcome to the show. We have another amazing episode planned for you today with the lead analyst from Capital Mindset Trading Group. He has given us so many incredible setups and so much insight on the market. Now we're back to kind of do a little review and also to answer the pressing question on everyone's mind. Is this it? Is this the top? I know that people are reading a lot of doom and gloom on their timelines, that a lot of other YouTubers are saying that it's over, that maybe we should start getting ready to pack our bags for the bear market. I definitely don't think so. And we've got Trip here now to answer some of your pressing questions, to give you a little bit of insights on the market, Bitcoin short-term and long-term, and what's happening with the altcoins. And I think you're going to like this because other analysts are not talking about these kind of charts. So we try to bring you all the insight we can and all the confluence we can to give you perspective on just what to expect in these markets. So without further ado, Trip, welcome to the show.
Hi there, Megan. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, we always love having you on. I know people love this portion of the channel. It's really cool to get a little bit of insights, especially for people who aren't members in the group and don't get the privilege of seeing your setups and your posts every single day. So yeah, I mean, it's been going really great. Although market conditions have been how they are, you've still been able to post some of the most pressing setups or that are ready to explode, and people are making money, whether the market goes up and down, learning to leverage trade, learning to trade. So the group has just been phenomenal throughout even this kind of quote unquote boring time, right?
Right. Yeah, it's been fairly slow, but we've been managing pretty well. We're still getting some of the big gainers of the day. So yeah, this was one of the setups that we had posted in the group. This is AI16C. So we had this, everything was bottoming out, as you can see, with a huge downtrend. So most of these coins have already been oversold. They had some bullish divergence. So we're just looking for these short-term bounces at least. So AI16Z, we had a break of resistance here. After that move, we got to move up to the second level. That's for a 61.7% move, which I think is pretty good. We had only a few big movers of the day for the past week. So this happened to just be one of them.
Wow. I mean, that's huge in these market conditions, 60%. And that's without leverage. So
right. Yeah, no leverage needed.
Yeah.
The second one we had was RPL. You can see that good. So we had a retest entry. You had kind of a double bottom retest here on the falling wedge. So from that entry there, RPL ran up for at least 60% from that retest entry. So another one, 60% times 2 so far. We've had a pretty good week.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I mean, just to stress this, like nothing is moving in this market right now, and you managed to pick out some of the top gainers. So guys, like there are also trading videos in this group, so you learn how to trade. You can download all the videos. There's so many resources, and Trip, the lead admin, and all the other admins are some of the best in this entire space. So there is a code down below in the description to get a 10% discount using CryptoMegan10 for 6 months plus. And I highly recommend that you invest in your education and your tools and your skill set right now, because we're on the verge of something explosive, in my opinion, and that we have quite a long ways to go. And, this is the time where you can make those decisions that could change your life, right? So absolutely. I just want to stress that because I've been seeing everything you do, Trip, every single day. And it's just, it's amazing, the resources.
Yeah, I think so too. We've got 17 training videos now. So we just had a couple added on by our video creator. His name's Paul. He's in the group as well. So he's done an amazing job. Everything's up to date. Like I said, there's 17 videos. So if you don't know anything about trading, this starts from the very basics of how to use TradingView and then how to use all the indicators and different tools and the stuff that we use in the group. So you'll get up to speed pretty quick with these videos.
Absolutely. And it's incredible what compounding gains could do. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of capital. If you just learn the skill set, you get successful with smaller amounts, and then you start to compound those trades over time. A lot of my clients or my friends who are in the group, what they do is they have one portfolio that's for just long-term set it and forget it, and another one that they're learning how to trade with. And I think that's been very successful for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the best way to go. So you can practice with smaller amounts. And if you're going to try a new idea, then use a practice account or account that only has a small amount of money in it. So
Right.
that way, if you make a mistake, it's not going to hurt so much. You definitely don't want to hurt yourself while you're learning.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, the last chart we had here, this is another result actually from LTC. So we had another break above resistance. After we got this break here, We saw a move up to the top of the range for another 20% move for Litecoin. So as you can see, these were the top gainers of the day. You had RPL, AI16Z, and then LTC down here a little bit lower.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Yeah, we can't really complain.
No, that's phenomenal, especially in these conditions, like I said before. And actually, I'm looking at Litecoin, and it seems to me that I recall that last cycle, when Litecoin started moving, which is pretty much what they call a dinosaur coin, the others start to follow. It's kind of like the predecessor of the breakout, right? I don't know. It could be.
Yeah. Also, because of the listings for a ETF, there's been a lot of hype around that for Litecoin as well. So it's definitely got a little bit of news, something carrying it.
Very cool.
Yeah. So this is a shorter term chart for Bitcoin. So it's been rounding out this bottom here. So I've got this green highlighted area. Essentially, if you were just to buy on this green level, you'd be accumulating into a Bitcoin position.
It's kind of like rounding out and bottoming out now in this accumulation zone. This is a 2-hour time frame. So then what are we looking at here?
Yeah, the breakout level up here is about 102K. So that's just for the top of this rounded bottom here. We could see more structure by the time we get here. I don't really know what to expect once we reach this resistance. We could get a sharp pullback, or we're looking for a break at least in this area. But really, yeah, for now, we're just expecting it to do more of this choppy stuff while it's sitting in this rounded bottom. This lower range point of control is basically the level that it's trying to hold as it's wobbling around down here. If we do break above this range, I think we're going to move to the upper range point of control up here. So that would be at about 104,950.
So what is the lower range point of control price?
That's at about 96,500. We're just below it right now at 96.2.
It seems like the market's on edge. Like, it's just the longer that we grind around here at 96,000, it seems crazy that could put people on edge, right? Like, we would die to get to 96,000 just like several months ago. It seems that the longer we stay down around here, people are getting more and more fearful, when in fact it looks more like a bullish accumulation pattern could be.
Yeah. Totally. It does so far. There always seems to be some kind of a curveball that comes right when we get to the end of this thing. So maybe it'll be like a pullback just to liquidate some of the long traders, and then it takes off. So that's a pretty common scenario as well.
Okay. Well, we have this on our mind now. This is the short term.
Right. And up here, this is the weekly chart. So I just wanted to show the idea, like we've had a bearish divergence on the RSI for Bitcoin. So it started back here in March of 2024. And we measured it to the peak in December of 2024. So you see you got a higher high here on the price action, and you have a lower high here on the RSI. So normally I would totally agree with them and say, yes, that's definitely a bearish signal. We were watching this right when it hit this overbought condition and then print to this bearish divergence. So we've been kind of watching it for almost a month and a half, 2 months or so, for this whole thing to play out sideways. But I want to show the comparison back here. Okay, so the Bitcoin 2015, 2018 cycle, we had the same thing going on here. You had overbought conditions, and you had a couple of bearish divergences. So really all that equated to on the chart was just a short-term pullback for a couple of weeks, and then a next drive higher. So you had another one show up later on. Same thing, you had a higher high here and a lower high on the RSI, and your lower high here on the price action and a higher high on the price action again. So that's a bearish divergence that we've seen 2 of them. And the same thing here, you just had a short-term pullback before it kept going higher. Wow. So over here, I don't expect this to be anything disastrous yet. We just don't have enough data at this point. But I also am not too fearful because of what we've seen in the past.
Right. And it seems that we even got an even sharper correction on those other drives of bearish divergence back in the last cycle. So it seems to be holding up fairly, as of right now, a little bit even better than the previous cycle. But could it be that those drives of bearish divergence on higher time frames is just something that can happen in a bull market when things are generally, euphoric?
Yeah, definitely. Just like if you're in a downtrend, you'll see a bunch of bullish divergences as the price is still going down. So we could be seeing the same thing in reverse, where you get a couple of bearish divergences that just signal the buying opportunities on the way up.
Right. That's interesting. So potentially not a doom and gloom scenario based on the little data that we have from the previous cycle, but just what would we need to do to invalidate this?
Well, the worst thing I can see happening is just coming down to test the support again. So that support is at about 73,000 for Bitcoin.
Right.
So that's the worst case scenario. And really, it would just be another bullish idea because you'd just be confirming an SR flip. That's a support resistance flip of
Right.
this resistance. So again, it's still bullish. If it were to break below this level and put in a lower low, then you start getting worried because there's a major trend change going on at that point.
Right. So 73,000 around there is the line in the sand. But I don't recall whether or not we've had that test back to that level. I mean, that was right when that was all the accumulation right below that resistance level, and right when President Trump was elected was around that price. Has it gone back there to previous bull runs, or have we not seen that revisit until bear runs? I mean, I kind of recall that we don't usually get that retest, right?
No, doesn't always happen. It might be like one or two candles that has the retest.
Uh-huh.
But again, like back here when we broke 20,000 for the 2017 to 2020 rally,
Right.
yeah, you didn't get a retest really here either. You just broke through and kept going higher.
Yeah,
So
we got
it's,
a retest in the next bear market. So,
yeah, yeah, it
um,
was a big SR flip if you think of it that way,
yeah,
right?
right.
So yeah, from here, it just doesn't seem like we have enough information. I think that there's still a lot more room to go higher. In my bullish opinion, I think we're making bases, and Bitcoin hasn't done the parabolic move yet, right?
Right.
We haven't really had weeks on end of green upstream yet in the
Right.
market.
Yeah. No, I'm fully with you there. I think there's a lot of gas left in the tank, especially with everything that's happening. I mean, it's not that this cycle is different. It's just that we have, more bullish macro environment conditions, which, in my opinion, can only add to the bullish thesis.
Yeah, and it's also because Bitcoin's been going up steadily since the beginning of 2023. So everyone's expecting this big pullback. But I think this uptrend really threw everybody off. We didn't really get an accumulation phase that you could watch carefully. It was just down to the bottom, change direction, and it just took off without waiting
Yeah.
for anybody.
Yeah.
So I think people are kind of, they're just like, okay, this has been going up for way too long. It's time for a pullback.
Right.
But I don't know if it
Okay.
needs to.
Yeah. I mean, that's another point that we will keep into consideration, but not necessarily bearish. I like it.
Right. Let me just bring up this. This is the 1 week chart that we're going to compare to. So this is just for the timing of these consolidation periods. So this blue one back here that was in March of 2023 that lasted until October of 2023, this is about a 217-day period. And then this next larger consolidation period that we had from March 2024 to September or October of 2024, that was about 217 days as well. So if we
Wow.
measure the smaller one in the middle, so you got like a big one, a small one, a big one, and a small one.
Right.
This one here was only about 63 days, and that's the same timing. So that was December to February of 2024. And
Right.
here we are in that exact same window of time. It's December to February of 2025. And so far, we're at about 63 days coming up soon when this candle closes. So that's about 3 more days for this candle to close. And then we could be ready for another move like the previous one back here in 2024.
Right.
So based off of this alone, it's like we could be right at the doorstep of the next move and no one's ready for it.
Wow. I mean, we're talking like if this time frame plays out anything like it has been, I mean, right around the corner, like potentially 3 days from now.
Right.
That's really crazy. I mean, yeah, and that would definitely catch people off guard. And that's my whole thing. Like all this, everybody having one tune to like this could be the end or very close to the end. I don't know. It makes me think that that Bitcoin likes to take people by surprise, right? Like that's what it's always done. So
Right. Yeah. A lot of the mystery is hidden within the time cycles, right? So if you're not paying attention to how time works on a chart, you're going to be, like you said, taken by surprise. So adding that time element helps you put things in perspective. And then you can kind of say, well, last time it took this long. This time it hasn't been that long yet. We should at least give it a little bit more time. Right.
right. And I
So
like what
your
you
answer
said
is
in
time.
the last, yeah, I like what you said in the last episode. Sorry, cut you off, but just like I want to reinforce this. You said that retail trades based on, emotions and, fear and greed, and the whales trade based on, time measurements, basically, right?
Yeah.
And fib levels.
Yeah, timing and high time frame indicators as well. So like when you're really heated up on the monthly chart on the RSI, I think that's one of the bigger signals, but we're not really at that level either on the monthly. So there's just not really a lot of macro stuff saying this is it, this is over.
I think a lot of people are saying, well, the Fed, has come out and said they're not going to cut rates like they were supposed to because the economy is going too strong, and that means we're not going to get that liquidity injection, and just so many different reasons for why things are different. When in reality, it's just very, very similar to previous cycles.
Right. Yeah. So like the next chart we can look at here is total 3. We had a previous break above this key support. Well, this was key resistance originally, and now it's turning into support. So we had a big pullback after this resistance was hit, and we've bounced off of exactly this level so far. So I think for the altcoins, we could get another strong move back up somewhere in this range, and those could look like V-shaped recoveries on some of these altcoins. So if something's down 30, 40% after a big sell-off, I think there's a chance we could regain almost all of those lost profits.
Interesting. And it could be happening really quickly instead of kind of like a slow, methodical grind up like people might be thinking it will do, which would also catch a lot of people off guard, which would then cause FOMO buying, right? Like instead of buying at the bottom.
Right. Usually it's just these long wicks, right? So down here, once you had this long wick printed on this trend line, most of the price action started to pick up speed from there. So same thing here. We've got another long wick that just printed. There's a chance that could act like another spring mechanism and send us higher. I don't know if we're going to break out necessarily on this next attempt, but at least a move to this resistance, that's pretty much where everything started coming down. So it's going to regain, I think, most of that move.
And when are we thinking that would that kind of be timed with Bitcoin's move up, or what are you thinking about like when that move happens?
It's hard to say. I'd say within from February to April is your window. So yeah, it's really hard to tell exactly how quick it's going to go, but yeah, I'm just expecting at least a bounce, and this is a high time frame. This is a 3-day chart, so a bounce on this time frame could be pretty decent for the altcoins to move.
Right. And an excellent time to jump in the group and start learning how to trade, because a lot of people are going to maybe FOMO buy and think it's going higher and then hold into the next dip or whatever it may be, when you can start learning how to trade and just trade this bounce alone and make pretty good money here. So that's something interesting to keep in mind as well, this window between February and April, to get ready for that.
Right. And like I said earlier before we started this recording, I would rather just trade the pullbacks all day long as if everything was just a bottoming pattern. They're my favorite patterns to trade. You don't always get them, but they're reliable. So I really don't mind if we were to chop around down here for a little bit. I think that would just be a lot of trading opportunities. And as you were mentioning before, we're trying to compound. So if you make a 20% trade, now you have an extra 20% to put in your next trade. So you're just continually rolling over your profits during those moments. So if we keep swinging up and down here, those could just be opportunities to compound your account.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's where people can start retiring or quitting their jobs, or I mean, this trading is really this skill set is really essential for learning how to take advantage of these market conditions.
Right. Yeah. Here's another big chart. So there's always a lot of controversy about when altcoins seasons start. So here I've overlaid Bitcoin dominance on the top, and you got total 2 in the middle, and you got Bitcoin at the bottom. So this is an interesting chart because really the signal for the end of the market, or for the end of the season, I could say, is when the dominance drops off a cliff, right? So when dominance dropped off here, this was at about December 2017. So altcoins, if you look at total 2, right on that date, that's when these things shot up. So you had a pullback on dominance, and then you had a pump on total 2. But Bitcoin had already topped out. So Bitcoin's not going up anymore, and the altcoins surged for about a month longer. So this was the signal that, hey, that's it. The market's over after this move, once you've seen this final capitulation on dominance. If we fast forward and we look again, so this is in 2021, you have the same thing happening. You had dominance capitulating. You had total 2 going up, and Bitcoin had stopped going up at that same point.
It had topped out for the cycle.
Right. So that's pretty much. We had another bump here afterwards, right? But ultimately, after this huge run up, yeah, that was the end. So everybody that's cheering on alt season, when's alt season going to get here? I'm not too excited for it to come. If you look at total 2 and you compare this uptrend, and then you compare it to Bitcoin's uptrend, they pretty much follow in sync. So all of these trades that you can get week after week after week after week, now you're saying I only want alt season that lasts maybe a month and a half. right? So
Interesting.
that puts it in perspective. It's like, would you rather have continuous altcoin setups for a longer period or have a concentration of a ton of really successful trades for only about a month or so?
Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, once we start getting to that true banana zone altcoin season, we're very near the end of the cycle.
Right. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
when dominance does that final dip.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So this really puts it into perspective. So this next run up, I mean, when will we know, like, where would Bitcoin top out around dominance, do you think? Like, when are you expecting that kind of move? Do you have any insight on that?
Not quite. I think it's still too early to start looking that far ahead.
Right.
The only thing that I can go by is this next chart here. This is the Bitcoin 1 month chart, and this is based off of the elections. So each election cycle, I think I showed this chart before in one of our older videos.
Hmm.
But after the elections, you pretty much had a big, huge run up to follow. So that happened back here in 2012, happened again in 2016, happened again in 2020. And over here on the current cycle, we haven't seen that green run up yet.
Right.
Right. So at the very least, I think if these cycles are true, then we have until about December 2025 at the end of the year or so. So
Yeah.
we had a cycle date before for October of
Hmm.
2025 as well. That could still be valid, but I also don't know if this is a much bigger cycle than everyone's expecting. And if that's true, we could have dates that be pushed back into the like late 2020, 2029, 2030 or so.
Wow. Yeah. That would definitely catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, and it would be slow and methodical for a bit. So, as I was mentioning, I think we're making parabolic bases. So,
Mhm.
back here in 2016, 2017, you had a bump and then a run, and a bump and then a run. So, over here, you got the same thing. You had a little bump and a run, and then a bump and a run. So, this whole move, yeah, I think we're still haven't seen that yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, looking at this is why it's important to get this higher term time frame like perspective. It feels like we haven't even scratched the surface of what we could do this cycle.
Right. And it's always the perfect point where everyone's saying, that's it, it's over, it's not
Yeah,
going any higher.
yeah.
And then it starts going crazy for the next foreseeable future.
Well, that was my thought too. It's like, when have we ever topped a cycle out on doom and gloom and despair? I mean, hasn't it always been that the cycle's peaked when everybody believes it's going to go infinitely higher? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Massive euphoria across
Yeah.
the board.
So when have we ever topped out where people are already capitulating and giving up? That doesn't make sense to me.
No, I think people's emotions are just a gauge for what color candle it is that month. And
Yeah.
that's really is, right? So when it's doom and gloom, it's a red candle so far. And then everyone
Right.
starts getting happier and excited when that turns back into a green candle again.
Right. Yeah. But my point is, like, we've never topped out when people are, thinking it's over, basically.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think the sentiment is lined up at all
No.
in any way.
Yeah. Okay.
So the last one that we were going to go over was an RWA project. So this is CPOOL on the 4 hour chart. And we have a decent 4 hour falling wedge here. Really, I'm not trying to nail a bottom or catch the low here. I'm really just setting alert on this upper trend line, or you
Mhm.
can set an alert on the 200 MA. So once you get that break above the 200 MA or the trend line, that's when I would be entering. And I think CPOOL is just starting its markup phase. From down here, you can see we had a long-term accumulation and a rise up, and then another massive rounded bottom. I think this falling wedge is going to lead to another big move to follow soon.
Oh yeah, and RWA is a huge narrative this cycle. I think it's going to come back with a lot of force, and CPOOL is one of the those top players in that narrative to add to the hype of the next move. So
Yeah, definitely. CPOOL is definitely one to watch. It's already been posted in the group, so we've got a lot of heads up, and we're definitely going to be watching it over the next few weeks.
fantastic.
The last one that we have today, this is our AI pick or the AI agents pick. This is AI16Z. So the shorter term time frame that we had before, that was like an entry into this area. And we've
Hmm.
already gotten a move up to this resistance. So now we're looking for entry if this resistance breaks, or if you get a pullback to the 50 MA on the 4 hour here. Or if this doesn't hold, we're looking for a double bottom scenario. If you get another pullback to this green support level, this would be the only other place that I would buy safely if I was
Hmm.
to re-enter this trade or add to my position.
Right.
But this 4 hour golden cross, that could be a significant move if this plays out. I think we can move as high as the 0.618 retrace, and that's
Right.
where you start getting into most of this heavy resistance up here. So if we were to measure that, this is a very decent trade just from these levels. You're looking at almost 228%.
Nice.
So That golden cross, that'll be a big one. We haven't seen a golden cross on the 4-hour chart yet, so it'll be the first one that it's printed so far.
Oh, very cool. And a lot of people kind of gave up on this one because everyone was so bullish and it had such a correction. I mean, all of them did. But, AI is still running very hot, and this is one of the top contenders. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what it does in the future. And I think, again, people are expecting that, this is dead. All these AI coins are dead now. The hype is over, but it could just be getting started.
Yeah, that's like most things though. You get that big hype cycle in the beginning, everything sells off. And then the first bounce is the one that nobody's really ready for. You don't really know how high it's going to go. But that's where you get a clue of how much FOMO is still in the market for that sector. So for here, it'd be the AI agents. So this next move that we get, it's really going to set the stage for the following move. So if we get a move up to this resistance, and then we get another full retrace, that would be an excellent pattern to trade if you get a big double bottom here.
Wow.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's really about what you're setting up for the future every time you get the next move, right? What's it building?
Yes. And we take a mental note now of how we're down here at the bottom now, and Trip is giving you the setup. I mean, it's time to take action. It's time to start learning how to do this. And I know in the group every single day you're posting setups, you're posting news, keeping us updated, giving us these higher term time frame perspectives every day. So yeah, guys, if you want that, the link is in the description below. Remember, Crypto Megan 10 for a 10% discount on 6 months plus. The group pays for itself in one successful trade.
For the cost of less than a cup of coffee a day, you could be learning how to read and trade this market. So it really does put it into perspective. So if you can afford a cup of coffee, you could be changing your future with that same amount if you invest it towards the group and learning a new skill.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. On that note, guys, don't think twice. If you have any questions, reach out. The link is in the description below. And Trip, we always love having you on the channel. I mean, these insights are really incredible and really give people the power to be able to, get more information that they're not getting on other channels and have a different perspective. So we really appreciate having you. And I look forward to having you on again soon to follow up on all these charts.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks. See you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.